Weird Al Yankovic. Photo by Todd Heisler, The NY Times. Redux Todd Heisler, The New York Times. Weird Al Yankovic may be one of the few people on Earth who has ever had an epiphany while putting on a fat suit. It came as the musical comedian, comedic musician, genius parodist and master accordionist was in the midst of his 200-show, 9-month mandatory world tour in 2016. He was putting on the fake poundage in service of the song Fat, his famous parody of Michael Jackson's Bad, when it hit him, literally, I was putting on my fat suit for the 1000th time and I thought, you know, next tour, let's maybe just not do this, says Yankovic, in a phone interview with Post Media. Maybe we'll just go out on stage like regular musicians and just play music. What a concept. At first I thought, that's not going to have any kind of commercial appeal. People want to see the full show. But then I thought I'm at the stage in my life and my career where I can do something even if it's not going to be commercial or even if it's not going to appeal to a lot of people. Because there's enough people, I think, who would want to see something like that. I didn't know. I was just guessing. He was right. In fact, most of the stops on his ridiculously self-indulgent, ill-advised Vanity Tour have been sold out. There's no costume changes, no fancy production values on Yankovic used the parody songs that made him famous in favor of his non-parody original material. He talked about that with Post Media prior to his May 31st show at the Grey Eagle Casino. Q. Tell me a little about the set lists for this tour. I understand they change from night to night. Are they improvised? I wouldn't say they are improvised because the crew needs to know what we're doing on any given night. They do change wildly from night to night. On my normal tour, because there is so much production involved, by definition they have to be exactly the same every night. But for this tour, we learned over 4 hours worth of material so we could mix it up and do radically different shows from night to night. In fact, if we do more than one night in the same city, every single one of those shows is completely different from the other one. This is a tour where we actually encourage tour hopping, because you are not going to be seeing the same show every night, it's going to be something different. Q. Given that your parody songs, Fat, Like a Surgeon, Smells Like Nirvana, and Amish Paradise, White. I always knew the original songs had their fan base but they didn't have the general and widespread appeal that the parodies had because the parodies generally get made into videos, they generally get the radio play. Far into my career, I still had interviewers saying, have you ever thought about writing your own music? I'd say, half of my material has always been original. Yeah, they definitely fall between the cracks, so this tour is celebrating all those songs. Q. I understand that includes some deep cuts that go right back to the beginning of your career. You released a box set in 2017, Squeezebox, the complete works of Weird Al Yankovic. Did putting that project together make you feel nostalgic for the early work? It certainly did. I made the decision to do this tour before putting together the box set, but doing that certainly got me excited. It helped me get psyched for this particular tour. Q. I'm assuming you are attracting some pretty devoted Weird Al fans with this format. Are they excited to hear the obscure numbers? Are you ever surprised to hear them singing along to these deep cuts? It's really gratifying to me, because I'll announce some really obscure deep cut and there'll be screams from the audience like I announced we were doing White. These are the fans that will be more excited for us to play a really obscure track off the third album than they would be for me to play my latest radio hit. In fact, when we do play a song that's more popular in the show, they are like, oh man, I know this song. Everybody knows this song. Why are you playing this one? Q. Comedian Emo Phillips is opening all these shows. He co-starred in your 1989 film UHF, which has become a cult classic over the years. Since we are in the era of reboots, would you ever want to revisit that film in some way? A lot of people have asked that over the years. Laughing. I'm glad that UHF finally found its fan base a decade or two after its initial release. I would love to do another movie, I just don't want to do a UHF sequel. I don't want to do a reboot. I don't want to try to trade on people's affection and nostalgia for that movie. I'd like to let that movie live in its own era. I think sequels to comedy movies in general, they are usually disappointing in some aspect. Even if I did the greatest comedy in the world, if it was UHF2 there would be people going, yeah, but it was not what I was expecting. Q. You sold millions of records, won Grammys, got great airplay for your videos. I always found it strange that you never really had any imitators trying to tap into a similar vein, or at least none that were anywhere near as successful as you. Why do you think doing parodies in comedy and music is such a rarity? A. I'm like the Highlander. There can be only one. Actually, these days, there are a lot of people on YouTube and parody songs, and so it's a little bit more difficult for me to stand out from the pack if I were to do another parody. But certainly in the 80s and most of the 90s, it felt like I had the field mostly to myself. I'm sure there were people who were doing parodies back then, but they didn't have YouTube and I was the only person getting heavy rotation on MTV, so I had an unfair advantage over everybody else. Q. Congratulations on getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. When is that happening and how does it feel to receive that honor? A. I know when it's happening, I'm not allowed to say. Let's say later this year. It's amazing. It's a great thing for me and a great thing for the fans because there are fans who have been trying for 12 or 13 years to get me that star. I was never obsessed with it, I thought it would be nice. But these fans have been working for years and years and years to make it happen and finally it did. As happy as I am personally, I'm even happier for them because they finally made it happen. This Q. Visit Grey Eagle Resort and Casino.ca/event-center/